Hello, gentlemen. This is Father Clark Philipp, class of 2010, coming to you for your next installment of 3-Minute Theology. What is the purpose of Lent? Well, when you think about purposes, what we're talking about is why. Purpose answers the question why. Why do we have Lent? A first answer might be an historical one, which is that in the history of the church, Lent was the period of preparation that those entering the church, those who are going to be baptized and receive confirmation, who are going to receive the Eucharist at the Easter Vigil, that those men and women would make a period of intense preparation for Easter mysteries, the Easter mysteries and the sacraments that they would receive. And the rest of the church watched these men and women in the early centuries of the church make these great preparations and have an incredible Easter. And they said, we want that. Actually, we want all of us to enter into this period of preparation. And so Lent and all of the practices surrounding Lent became part of the norm for the entire church, not just those entering into the Easter mysteries at the Easter Vigil, the sacraments that would bring them into the full communion of the church. That's maybe a first answer. Second answer, we can maybe give some analogies. So a first analogy, I don't know, many of you probably work with your hands or do yard work or even work out, right? This happens when you work out, if you're lifting a barbell, that your hands get calluses. I played soccer a lot when I was growing up, and I still like to play soccer, but if you are cutting around and you have a pair of shoes that doesn't exactly fit right, you get calluses on your feet from the wear and tear, the little nicks and the injuries that happen to the skin in the midst of that activity, right? Sometimes we can think about it and we can transfer it to our lives, our hearts, right? That in different ways we have kind of little irritations, little injuries that happen to our hearts when we choose this in small or big ways to go away from the Lord. And we build up and our hearts are hardened. They become deadened in a little way. They have these layers of barrier and they become hard. And so Lent is meant to be, we heard on Ash Wednesday, the invocation from one of the prophets. He said, rend your hearts, not your garments, right? That we would pull off those hard areas, those calluses that are on our hearts, that the living flesh underneath them might again have air to breathe. And so Lent is this time where we take these things that are in our lives that have kind of deadened us to the world and renew them. And this is maybe the second analogy that the church offers us, which is that we enter into a battle, a battle with spiritual evils, is what the prayer on Ash Wednesday said. And the spiritual evils that we battle are not just ones that are far out in the world, like in Ukraine or in some other place in the world, even the injustices that we find in our own city, but primarily they're the ones that we find in ourselves, the evils that don't allow us to love people well, to love ourselves well, to act well, to be the men that we desire to be. Why do we have Lent? In order to enter more fully into the Easter mystery, the death and resurrection and ascension of our Lord. But more than that his life, that glorious life, might be and take over our hearts and transform them, not into hearts of stone, which they can sometimes be, but living hearts of flesh, glorious hearts, manly hearts, hearts that beat and are alive, full of the glory of Christ.